The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense latest intelligence update on Ukraine, October 21, 2023. On October 18, Russian President Putin announced Russia will conduct fighter patrols over the eastern Black Sea using MiG-31 jets armed with Kinzhal hypersonic missiles. Putin justified this by referring to increased U.S. naval presence in the eastern Mediterranean, saying it's to hold these ships at risk. The announcement aligns with typical Russian rhetoric for domestic audiences, framing the West as aggressors and Russia's actions as defensive. Specifically mentioning Kinzhal was likely strategic messaging to demonstrate Russia can still produce and operate advanced new weapons despite the Ukraine conflict. In reality, Kinzhal has performed poorly in Ukraine so far and remains in operational testing. It has high capabilities on paper, but Russia needs to significantly improve its employment. The announcement was more for strategic messaging than an imminent credible threat to ships in the Mediterranean. Ukraine's Armed Forces General Staff Update. It is day 605 of Russia's attempted invasion of Ukraine. Fighting continues across multiple fronts. Russia conducted 4 missile strikes, 33 airstrikes, over 24 multiple launch rocket system attacks against Ukrainian positions and settlements. Civilian casualties reported. Fighting remains active in eastern and southern Ukraine. Russia shelled over 10 settlements in North Ukraine from Russian territory. Minefields along the border increased. Ukraine repelled over 10 Russian attacks near Kharkiv and Luhansk regions. Russia shelled around 10 settlements in these areas. Around Bilohorivka, Luhansk, Ukraine repelled around 10 Russian attacks. Russia shelled around 15 settlements in the Lyman axis. Near Bakhmut, Ukraine repelled all Russian attacks. Russia conducted airstrikes and shelled over 10 settlements. Near Avdiivka, Russia conducted unsuccessful attacks with air support. Ukraine repelled around 15 attacks. Russia shelled over 15 settlements. Near Marinka, Ukraine repelled over 20 Russian attacks. Russia conducted airstrikes and shelled around 10 settlements. Near Staromayorsky, Ukraine repelled all Russian attacks. Russia conducted airstrikes. North of Zaporizhia, Ukraine repelled a Russian attack. Russia conducted airstrikes on over 20 settlements. Near Kherson, Russia conducted airstrikes on several settlements and shelled others. Ukraine continues counteroffensive operations near Melitopol and offensive operations near Bakhmut, inflicting losses on Russia. Ukraine's Air Force conducted 12 airstrikes against Russian forces. Missile troops struck various Russian military targets. The Institute for the Study of War Russian Offensive Campaign Assessment. Ukrainian forces have likely repelled another intensified Russian offensive effort towards Avdiivka in recent days, inflicting heavy casualties and equipment losses on Russian troops. Russian forces mounted attacks northwest and north of Avdiivka between October 19 to 20th, making some marginal gains in the waste heap area northwest of the city. Russian military bloggers claim Russian forces are gradually advancing near the waste heap towards Berdichi, 5 kilometers northwest of Avdiivka. A Ukrainian observer noted Russian attacks towards Stepov, 3 kilometers northwest of Avdiivka, towards Novokhalinov, 7 kilometers north of Avdiivka, and from the Krasnohorivka-Vesel area towards the waste heap. However, Ukraine states Russian offensive operations near Avdiivka decreased in pace on October 21. Ukraine reiterates claims that Russia lost 50 tanks, 100 armored vehicles, and 900 personnel during attacks on Avdiivka on October 19. The Institute for the Study of War Key Takeaways today. Russian forces are struggling to stop Ukrainian efforts to resupply and reinforce newly captured positions across the Dnipro River in western Kherson Oblast. Ukrainian counteroffensive operations are ongoing near Bakhmut and in western Zaporizhia Oblast on October 21. Russia may be using a wider variety of missiles, guided bombs, and drones in strikes on Ukrainian rear areas, likely trying to identify gaps in air defenses before broader strikes this winter. A Russian politician formally requested the Federal Security Service, FSB, investigate Moscow's mayor for allegedly revealing state secrets. Russian offensive operations continue along the Kupiansk-Svatov-Kremina line, near Bakhmut, Avdiivka, southwest of Donetsk city, near the Donetsk-Zaporizhia border, and in western Zaporizhia Oblast, gaining ground in some areas. The Russian government is taking steps to address discrepancies in treatment between personnel in irregular and regular military formations. Reporting from Ukraine Update. The biggest news is from Avdiivka, where Russia suffered major losses in a renewed offensive effort. Total Russian losses reached almost 1,400 soldiers and 175 tanks and armored fighting vehicles in one day. 65% of these losses occurred in just two 5-kilometer segments near Avdiivka. The losses were 50% higher than on the first day of the offensive. Ukraine was more prepared this time, with no element of surprise for Russia. Ukraine also intercepted more Russian jets. Russia failed again to take Tarakhan, a 25-meter artificial hill that would allow controlling the whole region. Storming it under Ukrainian fire was futile. Russia sent larger assault units, up to 14 vehicles and 100 troops at a time. Most were destroyed just meters from Ukrainian trenches. Putin visited military headquarters, likely due to expectations that Avdiivka would be taken by now. The fate of Russian commanders overseeing the offensive may be at risk. Zelensky also met with commanders and was briefed on the successful Ukrainian defense of Avdiivka. The situation remains under control for Ukraine.